Hey everybody. Today on Ada, amongst the many jobs that I'm doing, doing some organization in our salon and bedrooms, but right now I find myself in the engine room. As you can see, this being one of my Detroit diesels, I decided that I would take the time and swap out the zincs in the motor. It's a very important job, needs to be done every year, and I figured I would do that before we get started in the season. Zincs are a crucial part of any boat motor, and actually any metal part of the boat that is in the water or touches water. And you will find them on motors, prop shafts, rudders, different parts of the outside of the boat that are metal. And what a zinc is, here I'll flip the camera around and show you what one of the ones in the motor looks like. This is called basically a pencil zinc. It's actually a rather big one because these Detroits, well, they're big motors and they take big zincs. There are two main ones in the motor and a third one back by the water pump that I had previously replaced. A zinc, if you think about all of the different types of metals and how noble they are, being gold and platinum at the top of the list, they don't corrode. Moving on down to stainless steel, and the motors are made of, well, steel, iron. The prop shafts are made of stainless steel. The propellers are bronze. They're pretty noble metals. Way down at the bottom of that list is a metal called zinc. You'll also find aluminum and magnesium down there as well. These are sacrificial metals that, well, water and electricity, especially salt water, creates a toxic environment for metal. And you can see I pulled one of the zincs out of my starboard motor. This is a sacrificial metal that will rot first when it's in contact with everything else. I'd previously talked about in a video how everything on the boat is bonded or is connected with some wires to the motors and all of the metal parts. I pulled this zinc out of the heat exchanger here, where raw water from the outside comes in to the boat. And, well, in a car, you have air that runs over your radiator to cool down your coolant. Inside a boat, we can't have a radiator, so we have a heat exchanger where water from the outside of the boat comes in, raw water, and it runs through this big tank on the front of my motor, and it exchanges the heat from the coolant, it's basically regular car coolant, inside the motor. This would look familiar to a lot of people. There's regular coolant inside there that runs through and cools the motor. But inside this big tank runs raw water from outside over the coolant, and it is a heat exchanger. It exchanges the heat, it sucks the heat out of the coolant, and it sends it out through this tube here, which connects into my exhaust system. Why you oftentimes will see in the exhaust of boats water spurting out the back. That's the raw water that comes in through a raw water hose here. Mine's dripping because I have it open at the moment. And it comes through, it cools the motor through the heat exchanger, and that raw water, because boats have electricity, marinas have electricity, and when you put a boat in an environment where you have water and you have electricity, what you end up with is something called galvanic corrosion or electrolysis, and that can destroy the more noble metals if you don't have something sacrificial to rot away first. So in all boats, you put in these zincs as the first line of sacrifice, and they're designed to rot away, and they do. And I'm pulling out the old ones and replacing them with brand new ones. So one next to the old one, which is at least a year old, is going to be put right in to this hole here in the heat exchanger. There's one on the other side of the heat exchanger over here, which is going to be a little harder for me to get to, but I will get to it. It's right here. I'll pull that one as well. And that's one of my jobs for today, is swapping on the motor. I need to protect these old beasts. They're they're probably 50 years old. And these zincs are going to be sacrificial in rotting away as the water runs over them, rather than letting the iron or the stainless or the bronze rot away. I also have zincs on my prop shafts and my bronze rudders. I'll be changing those out pretty soon as well. So I've got the raw water system all back together. You may have seen in a previous video this water strainer that I did some serious cleaning on. The raw water comes in through this through hull, through a valve that is sitting open right now called a seacock. Comes up through this hose into this water pump. That pumps it through the entire motor up to the heat exchanger. Right now, on the end of this water pump, there is a fitting that allows me to hook up a garden hose, so I actually could start these motors out of the water and use hose water as my raw water to cool the motors. That is where another zinc is going to go once we get underway. I've got a smaller zinc than the other two that go into that water pump right there. That pumps around the engine over to the heat exchanger that now has new zincs. They will be my sacrificial anodes, and then the water goes out that tube, that stainless tube, attached through a series of hoses, and it eventually, way back there, connects up to the exhaust. So I've got my sacrificial anodes. That's going to protect my engine from the water for another year. You can use a variety of different materials for your sacrificial anodes. If we were staying in freshwater, the choice in freshwater is to use magnesium. If you're in brackish water, or you're going from salt to freshwater and back and forth, aluminum is a good sacrificial metal. I chose to put in zinc because once we get going, we're going to be heading out of the Great Lakes and looking to get into saltwater as soon as possible. So zinc does work in fresh water, and that's what I installed into the motor. That's what I'm going to put on the prop shafts and on the rudders as well. I'll show you that in a later film. Thanks.